Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Power Podcast All-Star Live Stream Series. I'm your co-host, Brother Bedford, and we just want to thank you over and over and over again for sharing with us probably your most valuable resource. It's your time. And so we thank you for sharing your time with us on these evenings. And tonight is a Saturday night. Normally we could say that there's a lot of things you could be doing on a Saturday night, but hopefully you're at home. Everybody else is at home. So we hope and pray that you are staying safe and doing what you need to do to make sure that you and your family are safe. So what I need you to do, as we get ready to get started, we got a very enlightening conversation that's going to take place this evening between Dr. George C. Fraser and my dear sister, Wendy Muhammad. So we really want you to go ahead and tell us where you're from. Go ahead and do that right now. Put your name and where you're from below. I need you to go ahead and like and love this page, George Fraser's fan page, and follow the fan page. And when you do that, you'll get notified when George is doing something special. And George is always doing something special, always dropping nuggets. And so you want to be notified when those things happen. Another way that you can be notified about previous podcasts as well as future podcasts is to go over to www.newblackpower.com. Just enter your name and email, and we'll make sure that you're notified with all of the upcoming podcasts. And we've just been having a historic run of thought leaders and entrepreneurs and just phenomenal people from our community who've been sharing their knowledge and their wisdom with us. And then just go ahead and mark your calendar for this Tuesday. We have John Hope Bryan, who's the CEO of Operation Hope, coming up this Tuesday. So as you can see, we're not stopping. We're putting our foot on the gas, and we want to continue to bring you the best of the best from our community. So with that said, without further ado, I want to turn you over into the hands of the father of the network movement, the best-selling author of 6 books in the subject matter, the CEO of FraserNet, Fraser Nation, the founder of the Power Networking Conference, and I could go on and on and on, but he is the catalyst for why we're here doing what we're doing right now. So without further ado, I want to turn you over into the hands of Dr. George C. Fraser.
Thank you, Brother Bedford. Listen, we have a special guest, so I had to put on my sexy glasses, And I want to thank the nearly 4,000 people that wished me a happy birthday, and the 2,000 that made comments. Some of the comments were really, really nice, and then some of the comments, sort of smacked me upside my head, said, listen, you ain't that sexy, okay? So I am so fortunate to be this age, and God has been good. I'm still in my right mind, and I still feel healthy. I'm still energized. I still am creating, as Brother Bedford said. And tonight we're with a very special young lady. She is the third of the All-Star Sisters on this Power Podcast, and some of you may know her, but my guess is not enough people know who this sister is. This is Wendy Muhammad. And we met a bit ago, in almost 2 years. She is on the faculty of the Power Networking Conference, brilliant faculty member. She's a tenured faculty member. It's like being a tenured faculty member at Harvard. That means that you will never be replaced, right? Because you're rich in content, rich in wisdom, and rich in experience. She is an incredible sister. I mean, how she does what she does, how she juggles her time and manages her time to do all the things that she is doing simultaneously, just deserves recognition in and to itself. I downloaded her resume because I could not commit to my memory all of the incredible details and accomplishments of this awesome sister. So she is smart, she is beautiful. She belongs to the nation. She's with the nation, as Brother Bedford is with the nation. So here I am as a Christian. I'm in a nation sandwich tonight, right? I'm they're the bread. I'm a thin slice of meat in between them. So what I want to do is I want to do somewhat of a dramatic read um, for Wendy, and then we'll launch into our discussion for this evening, which I promise you will be a rich discussion. So, Wendy Muhammad is a multi-million-dollar business developer, a thought leader, a crisis manager, trainer, and international, and that's not hype, that's real, an international entrepreneur. Wendy is currently the president and director of business affairs for the minimally invasive vascular centers, sort of builds hospitals, where along with her business partner, she has worked to develop a scalable, progressive new business model for vascular outpatient surgical centers and micro hospitals. Now that's a mouthful. Say that 3 times. The facilities are located in the metropolitan areas of the District of Columbia. The team has expanded to major markets throughout the United States and Africa, just recently returning from Benin. Their state-of-the-art facilities have revolutionized the delivery of the subsurgical specialty vascular services to the community. She has also helped to design and develop new hospital and surgery center business models. In addition, she is a franchise partner that owns and operates the award-winning Massage Envy in downtown Silver Springs, Maryland. She was recently nominated for Franchise of the Year in 2019. And she also sits on the National Franchise Advertising Board. Wendy is also creator and developer of the Mind of the Entrepreneur, or Mind of an Entrepreneur, a brand that currently produces a radio show. I was on it this week. Authors and publishes books on mental strategies for navigating the world of business. The Mind of an Entrepreneur brand also focuses on helping members of marginalized communities open the pathways to wealth and abundance through owning and operating businesses and introducing much needed goods and services into their communities. We're going to talk about that tonight. She's also expanding her business consulting practice to include hospital investments, turnaround consulting and healthcare acquisitions. And one of her new exciting ventures includes the reclamation and renovation of a turn-of-the-century mansion that's owned by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This historical project is dedicated to the training and development of entrepreneurs from marginalized communities around the world. Finally, Wendy began her career at PricewaterhouseCoopers. She also is the owner and chief executive of a business consulting and crisis management firm called the John Edwards Group, or the John Edward Group. And as a business consultant, executive project manager, and business thought leader, she has trained thousands of entrepreneurs and emerging leaders and has managed over $350 million in projects. She has served as crisis manager for many corporations, executives, and celebrities. So if you get in a bit of trouble and you could write a check, you probably want to consult with Wendy. And again, finally, Wendy is an award-winning global thought leader with exemplary management, organizational, and strategic thinking skills, and a proven record of accomplishments in initiating and managing change, project management, process improvements, thought leadership, contract negotiations, financial reporting, auditing, and internal controls analysis and review. Her motto is that old business models no longer work. She has demonstrated the ability to implement decisions and achieve corporate goals. She holds a dual degree Bachelor of Business. Was it Bachelor of Business Arts or Bachelor of BBB is what? A Bachelor of what? Bachelor
Bachelor of
of
Business Administration.
Business Administration. I couldn't get the word out right. In Finance and Accounting from Iowa State University, and numerous business certifications and accomplishments in the areas of finance, accounting, and business. She is also a certified emotional intelligence coach and trainer. There's a couple more pages here, but we're just going to stop there. Please welcome to our podcast tonight, the awesome Wendy Muhammad. Wendy, it is awesome to have you tonight and to have you sit in the hot seat with us tonight. See, I'm looking at the picture of you, and it seems to be either a glare on the screen. Can you
Might
see
be the
that?
sun. Yeah, I see it.
Is it the sun? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
hold on.
It looks
We'll do
like it,
top.
yeah. There you go.
How
There you
about
go.
that?
Perfect.
There you go. There
How
you
about
go.
that?
Right. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you, George. I'm happy to be here. Guess who gave me that motto? Old business models no longer work. Brother
Who?
Bedford.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just,
Why am I not surprised?
I've known Brother Bedford for many years, and we've enjoyed a lot of business together and being on podcasts and radio shows together. And he gave me that motto. Actually, I stole it from him.
Good. Good.
Yeah. And so I wanted to first start and just thank Brother Bedford for actually introducing me to you. And so, yeah, you are in this nation sandwich today. And even to all my brothers and sisters who are fasting, I just want to say Ramadan Mubarak to you too, Brother Bedford. I know we were talking about after this is over, we were running to get us some food and something to drink. And George, I want to say to you, something that I've admired about you since I met you, and I noticed that you embrace the diversity of our people. Many times when you go to these high-end business events, there's one kind of Black person that's there, right? You came on my show Wednesday and you gave a Pan-African view of entrepreneurship. You're going to honor Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Garvey's grandson.
Right. That's right. Dr. Julius Garvey at the conference.
That's right. And oftentimes as Black Muslims, as they like to call us, you know, we're not in these circles, you know, and we have a rich history and we have a lot to offer. And I think we're a market that more people need to tap into. And so hopefully with myself and people like Brother Bedford and other professionals that I know who use Islam as our foundation for operating can be a major force to be reckoned with and really contribute to the movement of our people at this level. So I want to thank you for that. And I think that that has a lot to do with why the Power Networking Conference is so successful, because you've got a diversity of Christians there, you have a diversity of Muslims there, and like I said, Africans, Pan-Africanists, Garveyites, you name it. So I appreciate that about you.
And we have some Black Jews there too.
That's right. So. I forgot that. I did meet them. Yes.
No question about that. Listen, I want to start with the two basic questions that I pretty much ask everyone, just to get your point of view, because you just can't get away from the elephant in the room, which is COVID-19. And it's just sort of a simple two-part question. What are we learning? What are you learning? What do you think we're learning? That's A. And B, what do you think we're missing? Are we missing something? What will this mean for us post-COVID-19 when it's all said and done? Where should our head be? What should we be looking at? What should we be focused on?
Wow, you're going to take me there early in the show, huh, Brother George? So, you know, those of us in the Nation of Islam, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about this day. And we were taught about what to keep in our homes, how to eat, and that this day would come when we couldn't leave our homes. And And so for us, what I'm learning is that there's strategies, there's mental strategies, there's a mindset that needs to be prevalent. And I know in my mind, as I move through this, and I don't know that we realize that we really truly are at war. We're losing over 100,000 people a year to other diseases, not to mention COVID-19, and that has just accelerated. Our death rate has accelerated with the onset of this pandemic. And so if we don't wake up and realize that it's going to be us that's going to bring us out of this, we have to do for self. We have to come together and figure out what can we do for one another, whether it's our neighbors, our family members, our fellow entrepreneurs, because as you posted on your site, Superman ain't coming.
Mm-mm. Nope. Make no mistake about it. That's a gentle way. That's a gentle way that I say it. I've said it other ways too. I've said it in 2 other versions and iterations. No one will save us but us.
Right.
And white people will not be saving black people. And
Right.
white people are not even thinking about black people. Who are white people thinking about? They're thinking about white people. That's what they're thinking
Right.
about. They're thinking
Right.
about their husbands, their wives, their communities, their schools, and their businesses, and your pockets. They ain't thinking about you, right? So as I've said also many times, until Black America puts Black America first, Black America will always be last. And here we are 500 years in, 400 years in this country, another almost 100 years of colonialism on the continent. And as Sister Adu said from Ghana, we have given the Western world everything that we have. We're 500 years in. They have everything. We have nothing, right? So we have to think about what our responsibility is to us. Because we cannot have this conversation, Wendy, 500 years from now. I mean, we cannot be sitting here, our children, having the same damn conversation, right? So we must make a move. You've made a move. You are modeling the behavior that you expect from your people. You are the classic sister that I would describe as one that does not pontificate ad nauseum about our issues, that you take action. You have assaulted, and I mean that in a positive way, the healthcare, the hospital industry. At our town hall meeting at the Power Networking Conference, you were on that panel. The question that was posed by Dr. Randall Pinkett is, what field of business, what sector of business can we get into and ultimately dominate? That was the question.
Yes.
Very, very interesting, very provocative discussion. How can we dominate healthcare, and what did you and your team do to help change the face of healthcare? And to be candid, if you look at the percentage of businesses and jobs by industry that Black people are engaged in, a very high percentage is in fact healthcare.
That's exactly right, Joy.
So it's ripe for domination.
It's ripe for domination, because it's ripe for domination for a couple of reasons. Most businesses, almost all businesses, solving problems for a profit, right? So the problem in the healthcare industry is that there's healthcare disparities. We're discriminated against. When we walk into the hospital, as opposed to when you walk into our facility, I see my auntie, I see my uncle, I see my mother, I see my sister. And so there's a different level of care. There's a little bit more focus on solution. And so how do we dominate? We have to get facilities that we can come together and work at. And my business partner and I have been looking at acquisitions of, other hospitals, full-fledged hospitals where people can go and convalesce. But we have to start building the facilities. We need nursing homes that we own. We need hospitals that we own. So right now, where everybody's panicking and they're walking away from stuff, we need to be looking at those types
Urgent
of
care centers,
facilities.
urgent care centers
We
that
need urgent
we
care
own, that
centers
our doctors,
that
all the
we,
doctors that we're graduating from college will have places and to go and businesses to own and people to serve.
that's
Yeah.
exactly right. That's exactly right. And so it's right for us to dominate it. And we need to start taking care of ourselves, because no one's going to see you the way your relative sees you. And they're not going to offer the care and love to you that your relative would. So at the end of the day, we're kind of silly for going and laying up somewhere with people who don't like us. And I know a lot of times we see our own people in the hospitals, but they're a part of a system that is not designed to put the solution to your problem first. They may be doing business based on the way a pharmaceutical company told them to do it. They may be doing business based on revenue. They may be doing business the way the hospital just says they have to do it. But at the end of the day, you aren't the focus. And so what we try to do is, when you come in, we educate. We market through education. We're going to give you a thorough clinical evaluation, and then we're going to tell you what's wrong. So many of our people, we see them and they say, oh, I just had surgery. And if you ask them, what kind of surgery did you have? You know what they say, George? I don't know. Well, what did they do to you? I don't know. All I know is the same thing that's hurting me now is what was hurting me before I went there and had surgery. They don't even ask questions. And no one tells them. And we see this probably 60% of the time. So that's the first thing we have to do. We have to take our health care into our own hands.
Yeah.
And we can dominate by owning facilities ourselves. Hospitals, ambulatory surgery centers, nursing home, urgent care, dental surgery, ophthalmology. We have to start owning and taking that into our own hands.
Well, and certainly we have a great start. There are enough Black people that are trained in the healthcare services, the myriad of healthcare services. We are graduating doctors, both male and female, dentists. I mean, the professionals and the professional opportunity and the schools to gain the licenses and the education around the healthcare industry are omnipresent. So it is a good category or an industry to look at in terms of future growth and development, and certainly being a major factor in urban healthcare, right?
Yeah, urban healthcare, George. Yeah,
Right on to surgery, right? Because there's also
right
a lot
on
of
to
health
surgery.
in diet.
That's right. Right into diet, nutrition, but also biotechnology. We can make things, we can solve problems. Biotechnology is one of the fastest growing fields. That's a direct offshoot from healthcare.
Yeah.
We have our students.
Give us an example of a biotechnology, what that does, what a biotechnologist does. So they make limbs and robotic parts for and metal knees, and is that biotechnology?
That's some of it. Think of it like your grandchild at home playing a game, right? You know, PlayStation or whatever, and then biology, and then bringing that together. So what you're doing is you're combining technology with biology to accelerate whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're accelerating your research, whether you are creating robotics, whatever it is that you're doing, you're combining that with technology. So it's no more old school going to look in the microscope with the Petri dish, right? They're doing it with computers, establishing cures for diseases with technology. And so that's a huge field.
Yeah. It was very interesting as I was reading your biography that you are a certified emotional intelligence coach. Why is emotional intelligence so important for an entrepreneur?
It's so important, Joy. It's important not only just for entrepreneurs, but for victims of abuse like us. You got to figure out how to get those emotions together. And we live in a society where we're always worried and stressed out about something. You know, people worried about going to the corner. They think they might get arrested. People are so afraid to open up businesses because they think they don't want them to have a business. So I became a certified emotional intelligence coach first to help myself, because one of the things that was challenging me is that I was like, I'm smart. You know, I graduated with honors. I know a lot about a lot of stuff, and I'm really quick. Why can't I get this entrepreneur thing right? Why is it that I can do it for other people? Why can't I go and work at PwC and these other consulting firms and they call me a rock star, but I can't do that for myself? So what I discovered was it had a lot to do with my emotions, which then fed into my thoughts and my belief system. So I had big ego and little pockets, because I didn't want people to see me struggling. I didn't want to dig in and do what I really needed to do. I felt like it should already come to me. I'm already smart. That was what I thought. But what I realized was that my emotions were in the way. I was way too sensitive, which was affecting my choices and, you know, overreacting to things. So you have all these descriptions, and I have them in my book where we talk about, I would go into emotional hijack, meaning number one, I let somebody else's emotion basically just hijack me, take over, and I'd start making decisions based on that emotion instead of what was really right for me. I was easily emotionally blackmailed. That's where my behavior was being dictated by what I thought somebody else felt like, or if somebody else just mentioned that they felt like something. And you know, we all experience these things. Sometimes we go into an emotional prison where we're just boxed in. And that brings me to, and I know we may talk about this a little bit later, but one of the things that I talk about on my show, George, is that not only do we have to focus on emotional intelligence, but we have to learn to create our own personal operating platform. And that's what you help us do at the Power Networking Conference. And what do I mean by that? If Dr. George Fraser says something that I think is intelligent, I should be able to use that and operate from that, right? Use that as part of my mental strategies. But what happens is, and I don't know where this came from, you probably know better than I do, but for some reason we think we got to pick sides. I'm on this side, you on that side, you on the Pan-Africanist side, I'm on the nation side, this person's on the Christian side, this person's on the Jewish side. It's not just religion, but we're just always picking sides. And what happens is we get boxed into this body of knowledge that imprisons us and limits us. But if I can look at George Fraser and say, man, George said something that was really powerful. Let me write that down. Let me incorporate that into my personal operating platform. If I can look at Brother Bedford and say, man, Brother Bedford said old business models no longer work. Let me incorporate that into my personal operating platform. Now that serves as the foundation for our unity. Because if I can respect what you say and I'm not picking sides, so therefore I'm not ignoring you, now we're unified. That's how we came together. That's how Brother Bedford and I came together, unifying under ideas and stop picking sides. And so emotional intelligence helps you to stop picking sides and respect knowledge no matter where it comes from.
Yeah. Well, emotional intelligence is one of my favorite subjects. And as you know,
me too.
My sister, Dr. Emma Fraser Pendleton, teaches emotional intelligence at the Power Networking Conference. I have read probably everything that has been written on that subject. It is now a wonderful science. The book that I recommend on the subject is Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Emotional Intelligence 2.0, wonderful little book. Pick up that book, read it a couple of times, and it will change your life. In the back of that book is a coupon that you can take an EQ exam before you read the book, get your score, just like you can take an IQ exam and get your score. And then you read the book, and then they allow you to take the exam again after you read the book and you've gone through the practices. It is well worth your money. Emotional intelligence, simply said, is the proper management of the 5 most important emotions that you have, and use the management of those emotions in creating and nurturing and building relationships at work, at home, and in the community. So for an entrepreneur, as Wendy has said, it is critical. Why? Because as I've said 1,000 times, business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business we're really in is the business of building relationships. So if you really want to know how to cultivate and develop relationships, you have to get your emotional intelligence in check. That is absolutely critical. There are three operating systems as it relates to who we are in our body. There is your personality, and you can take a personality exam, right? And find out what your personality type is. There's your IQ, right? And you can take an IQ exam, which really just says what your capacity for learning is. And you can't change your IQ score.
Right.
You really can't change your personality. You are who you are. Your brain capacity to do certain things is at a certain and particular level, and it's difficult to change that. The only one of the three things that make you up that you can change, that you can study and improve, is your emotional intelligence. You
That's
can
exactly
study
right.
that. You can go through exercises. You can be a better person. It is really just your interpersonal and people skills. That's really what we're talking about, right? But not only the management of your own emotions, and then how you manage the emotions of others that are heaped on you, how you react to that, right? And
also, George,
yeah.
on an advanced level, you're right. There's the emotional awareness piece. There's controlling your emotions, managing your emotions, and managing the emotions of others. But on an advanced level, it's using your emotions to figure out where you are as you're determining where you want to go. So if you feel yourself, feeling a certain way, then it behooves you to stop for a minute, and it teaches you to analyze that and say, where am I? Am I going in the right direction? Is this just a little pit stop? It's your compass. And so once you master some of those other things, using your emotions as your compass is really powerful, because that's how you get into creating and advanced levels of entrepreneurship, because you can use your emotions to create a state of mind that will allow you to solve complex problems.
That's right. Barack Obama, the critical factor that got this unexperienced newcomer to the national political scene elected president of the United States, leapfrogging over all of the Democrats that thought they should be next, was his EQ, his emotional intelligence.
That's right.
He's Mensa when it comes to emotional intelligence. And it was that, right? Not his experience, not his political experience, and certainly at that level, but his very high emotional intelligence and his ability to work with and through people and to listen, and the way he comports himself and presents himself. All of that is part of one's developed emotional intelligence. And so I'm so glad you're into that, and you're talking about that, coaching in that space.
George, if I can say something really quickly about that, and you mentioned President Barack Obama. When we were building the hospital, I spent about a year studying how to do it and what would happen, going through the federal guidelines, understanding what would happen locally. And so technically, if you will, from a textbook standpoint, I had it down. But it was my emotional intelligence that helped me to get us over those hurdles, because we had a lot of hurdles, most of them from people that looked like us. And so had the emotional intelligence not been in check, we wouldn't have gotten over those hurdles, and we never would have gotten it done.
Amen. Amen. I wrote something, I posted it up on Facebook directly related to emotional intelligence. And I said simply, you'll like this, that relationships never die a natural death. They're always murdered by attitude, behavior, ego, or ignorance,
Yeah.
right? Right?
Yeah.
So your emotional, a well-developed emotional intelligence really will serve you well. Um, you have diversified your business portfolio, and you're building hospitals, and you now decide to go into a franchise massage envy. I don't think, as we go about building and developing our businesses and ultimately becoming ultimately the number one employer of our own people, I don't think we always have to start from scratch. I
Right.
think there's a thing in the business world called churn, right? Businesses are constantly being bought and sold, and whether it's in the franchise category or
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
categories, and so we're not lacking opportunity. In spite of the isms of America, we're not lacking opportunity. What we're lacking is capacity and creative thinking on how we should get started in a business. And you don't have to start it from a seed.
Right.
You can buy an existing business, or you can go into franchise. All right. You
Yeah.
made that decision. That was a powerful decision. What have you learned as a franchisee, and what are the benefits?
So the benefits of a franchisee is that you get to plug into a system, right?
Mhm.
You're plugging into a system that's already been studied, it's already developed, everything down to the color carpet that you can put in the space, the wall covering, what your ceiling tiles look like, the color paint. There's a system there. And so that keeps you from having to think about all of that kind of stuff. And 9 times out of 10, if you become a part of a good franchise, they've studied these things, even
Yes.
down to the way your POS system is set up, the types of products, the way you display the products. All of that is systemized. It's taught me the value and the power of that, and gave me the capacity to even understand how to scale on the healthcare and the hospital level. And so that, for that reason, I mean, it has its downfalls in that sometimes you may want to be a little bit more creative. Like I wanted to put this really nice plush white couch in the lobby, and they were like, Wendy, get that couch out of here. I
Wow.
mean, but it's great in learning, especially if you're new to business. You just plug and play, basically, is what you do.
Yeah. You said the magic word, systems. And I
Yes.
tell brothers and sisters all the time, if you don't have a system, you don't have a business, right? A system enables you to replicate, duplicate, and scale. It is a system. We are the most innovative and creative people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we can create, we invented jazz, right? Which is 70 and 80% improvisation, which means you're creating something every second when you're blowing the tune, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are the really creative. So we can create stuff, but they own it. We
Yeah.
created jazz, but they own jazz because they developed the system by which to record it and ultimately to distribute it. We created a global hip hop culture, right, and music, but they own it fundamentally, right?
Correct.
Because they have the system, the distribution systems to get it out into the world. So systems is very important. And Ray Kroc, who developed McDonald's, at nearly 60 years old, he was a milkshake salesman, created a system to make a hamburger. That's what
Yes.
it was. It was to make a hamburger. So if you bought that hamburger in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York, or you bought it in San Diego, they would taste the same. And the
Mm-hmm.
cost factors and the cost management of producing that hamburger was pretty much the same. Systemization. I think that's a powerful lesson we learn when we get engaged in franchising. You see that everything is system. You probably got a manual this thick, right?
Yeah.
On this
Yeah.
is our system. This is what works. It is a science, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's a a very powerful lesson that we need to continue to say and to teach our people when we're thinking about business. You don't have to start from a seed, right?
Right.
You can buy a business, right? Or you can buy a franchise, right? And create systems. Create
Mm-hmm.
systems, whatever direction you want to go in. It doesn't really matter. Let me. How important is partnerships? Now you have a partner.
Partnerships are very important. Let me give you an example. For many, many years, I was a solopreneur, and I did well. You know, I was pretty well up there in the six figures. But what I feel when I learned to develop partnerships, understand the power of partnerships, and really to just see collaborations as partnerships, it took my life and my career to the next level. So when my business partner in the healthcare arena, the healthcare and wellness arena, Dr. Jeffrey Dormu said, hey, let's partner and build these hospitals and put this together. It expanded my footprint. It expanded his footprint. There's so many things that he does that I can't do. There's things that I do that he doesn't do, so it helps really to expand. And then, you know, what I did with that was I took it beyond that. So even vendors that we work with, I don't even use vendors I don't select vendors that we can't partner with. So there has to be some level of collaboration. In my other businesses, I have people who I partner with to get things done.
How do you pick a partner? But this is huge now. How do you pick a partner? Right now, that's a $64,000 question. How do you pick the right partner for you? This is huge. That's the big decision. That's the decision in our life partners, right? I have a life partner of 47 years, so I must have done a pretty good. I made a pretty good series of decisions to choose that particular partner. My business partner was 32 years until he died of cancer 2 years ago. He'd still be with me. So picking partners, what was your criteria?
For me, I like smart, honest people. So I look for somebody that has a good brain, right? Because you don't want somebody without a good brain because you're going to have to carry them. But I like people that have integrity, whose journeys I can respect and who respect my journey. You know, on the consulting side, I have a friend in Chicago, Aletha Wilson. I've known her for many, many years. And so she's my partner on that business consulting side. I know her, she's smart, the intelligence is there. You know, here in Maryland, my business partner, Dr. Dormu. And so it's people that you can tie yourself to and you don't mind going through the bumps in the road with them. And, you know, it's okay. You can help get them there. But I look for people who are smart and people who have integrity. And I start there. I have a great team, you know, in Chicago for the construction project, but it's partnerships.
Awesome. I know you have some business relationships in Africa, recently returning from Benin. What have you learned and how easy is it to go into business in Africa? There's so much conversation about that, and of course, we know you've been to the continent many times as I have, and we know that there's enormous untapped potential there, enormous potential, right? And almost every sector and every industry that you could possibly imagine. But you actually have done it. You built a hospital in Benin.
No, we're working on a hospital in Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Nigeria,
okay.
yeah.
Right. Talk about
Africa. So first thing we got to do is, most of us, if we grew up halfway conscious, we have a love affair with Africa, right? Yes. And so we expect that when we get off the plane, our brothers and sisters are going to be there to embrace us and love on us and support us. And sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. And we also think that because people are African, that they're Black conscious, which doesn't always mean the same, which is not always true either. And so, yes, you're right. There's tons of opportunities in Africa, but I think you first have to go to Africa a number of times so you get yourself through that emotional period. And then once you get through the emotional period, you can figure out what's going on. You can see the systems, because you have to remember that the way that business is done in Africa is not always the way it's done here in the US. Some people operate off the British system, some off the French system, some off the Dutch. So there's different ways, there's different laws, different things to do. Yeah, but we all should be looking at doing business in Africa. We were fortunate in that we found really great business partners there in Africa. Hopefully they're watching. I know it's late over there, but that is the first part. You got to find somebody there on the soil that you can trust, and it takes a while to be able to find somebody that you can meet and that you can trust. And I would suggest that you not do that your first, second, or even third time on the continent, because you got to get used to it. You got to get used to an all Black environment.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that is culture shock, right? No
Yeah, you
question.
got to get used to that. You have to get used to the fact that, like I said, not all Africans are Afrocentric or Black conscious. And so you have to figure that piece of it out. Some of them, you know, they'll throw a British accent on you in a minute, you know? So you have to get used to that kind of thing, and it takes time. And so you got to take your time with it, because when you go there, you're going to want to jump in right away. Oh, I can open this, I can do that, you know, blah, blah, blah. But it takes a while. Don't do it. I would say wait at least until your third time. But, you know, I've been fortunate.
Wendy, what was your path to finding that African that you know and you trust? What was your path? Was it through someone? Was it through a connection? What was the path to that?
So it was first from going to Africa many times. My first time in Africa was in Ghana many years ago, and then South Africa, Johannesburg, and understanding people first, so that when people pitch things to me, I could see them and I could see who they were, because I got to know Africa and the culture. And so this particular partner, we met on a trade mission, and they came here to visit us. We've been to their businesses, we've stayed on their estate, we've evaluated their business, they've evaluated us, and we've become family. And so it was through, but I don't know that I could have recognized that my first time in Africa.
Right. Okay. On the podcast that you and I did earlier this week, you said that Black people should begin to develop their own personal operating platform. I know you touched on that a bit.
Mm-hmm.
If you could unpack that a little bit more, that's very, very important. What is that personal operating platform? What is that? And do you have what you would like to recommend?
Well, I call it having a mind without borders. So in other words, it's like I alluded to, learning how to recognize truth no matter where it comes from, and stop letting other people make you pick a side, right? So for myself, my foundation, you know, is Islam. And so, but that doesn't mean that I can't learn from Dr. George Fraser. And that doesn't mean that Dr. George Fraser can't learn from me or Brother Bedford or whomever else. And so when I say personal operating platform, take information from W.E. Du Bois, take something from Wendy Muhammad, take something from George Fraser, take something from Grandma, and use those principles to create a platform that you operate from, that is tailored to you, as opposed to somebody saying, okay, George, you're a Christian, you go to this church, you're in this fraternity, and here's how you should think and look. Well, you're going to be limited.
Right.
Because that is not tailored.
It puts you in a box.
It puts you in a box, and that's not tailored to George's authentic self and what George showed up on the planet to do. So we got to get out of this, you know, I'm in this box, I don't like this person because somebody doesn't like that person, or I can't learn from them because they go to this church. We got to start having unity of mind. And that's having a mind without borders, taking those borders off of your mind and accepting truth no matter where it comes from.
Amen. My operating platform is really simple. I believe that complexity is the enemy of execution, so I try to keep it as simple as possible. So my advice, and because this is the advice that I adhere to in my own personal life, is to stay away from still people. Stay away from still people. What do I mean by that?
Going.
Right, there you go. Still broke, still complaining, still hating, and still nowhere. Stay away from them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And be an inch wide and a mile deep in your subject matter expertise, which means there's a certain level of intellectual curiosity that requires you to think about things and to read things and to explore things, so that, because you can never learn everything you need to learn about whatever it is you've decided that you want to focus on as a skill, right? Or a profession. There's always something to learn. So be an inch wide and a mile deep in your subject matter expertise, and then be a mile wide and an inch deep in matters of the world, so that you can talk about something other than the weather and the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Really, we need 360-degree Negroes. We really do. And we need Negroes who are intellectually curious, because that reading and that research and that insatiable appetite for knowledge provides the, let's say, the educational and experience foundation for critical thinking. And that's what we need. Critical thinkers. We do not have enough critical thinkers in our culture, because many of us won't do the work. And then we apply that critical thinking to our innovative survival skills. I mean, Black people have some awesome survival skills. We made a meal out of chitlins, right? Don't forget that. I mean, that's what we did. I mean, but that's what it took at that time to survive. That's all we had, right?
That's
so
all we had.
Survival skills, but if you match up survival skills with critical thinking, right? And the foundation of that is intellectual curiosity. You're reading, you're studying, and I see you reading and studying and thinking all the time. I don't think you probably do that when you're sleeping too. Do you dream? Do you dream when you sleep?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I dream every single night. I don't know what the hell that is. I can't. I can't turn now, some of them are weird and crazy. We all have those weird and crazy dreams. Occasionally they're erotic, but mostly I'm creating something. And if someone presents something to me and say, what do you think about this? I'll say, well, let me sleep on it. And I literally mean it, right? Let me sleep on it. And I place it in my subconscious mind because I'm thinking about it. And the next day, somehow or another, I conjure up a solution to it. I don't know how to explain that, but I have an active mind. You have an active mind. Brother Bedford has an active mind. We're just curious, and we never turn it off. I think there's a lot of good to that. There's probably, people could probably question, some of it, but that's my operating system. You have a wonderful operating system, obviously, because it has led you to where you are.
Yeah, and I want to say one thing about that, George. One of the things that is one of the cornerstones of my personal operating system is that I try to make sure that I'm responsible for the energy that I bring wherever I go. Whether it's the conversation, whether it's to the room, I'm always very careful about how I affect the energy, or if I need to affect the energy, and making sure that I'm not emotionally disruptive. And so I'm the kind of person that's what makes me good at crisis management, because if whatever problem you come to me with, I can help you figure out how to think your way through it. 9 times out of 10, you're going to already know the solution. Or if you have some bad news that, some of my friends always say, Wendy, if I have bad news, I want you to be the one to deliver it to me. And why? Because I want to be responsible. I took time before this program making sure that I brought the right energy to that. And I think that's also one of the higher levels of emotional intelligence. Even sometimes I don't feel like talking to my staff. Sometimes I don't, feel like answering the phone. And so I make sure that I'm responsible. I may be more serious sometimes than others, but that's a really important thing that I think that we should think about, because sometimes we just bulldoze over people and over situations, and we don't realize that, we don't mean it. We don't mean any harm by it. Our heart is good, but we have to be, especially as leaders, because people are looking to us. People are looking to Dr. George Fraser. They're in fear. There's a pandemic going on. They're watching the news. People are dying. And so they want to see, what's George's face look like during this crisis? What's Wendy's face look like during this crisis? What is Brother Bedford doing? And so as leaders, we have to be very careful about how we handle people and how we handle emotions.
Yeah, I have observed you. I've observed you on the big stage. I observed you just interacting with people. I've observed you in conversations, in small groups, large group conversations. I really love watching people because I learn from them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're a stoic. I'm a stoic, S-T-O-I-C.
What's that
I
mean,
think
George?
a stoic. Well, there's no highs, no lows, right? You're always just right in
Oh,
the
yeah.
middle, right? Which allows you to think on your
Yes.
feet,
Yes.
right? To connect,
Mm-hmm.
right? To feel the energy of the person, to read the words unspoken,
That's right.
right?
That's
You're
right.
tuned in.
I'm
And
tuned
so
in.
you somehow or another, you are managing your emotions and you're right there in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just a very, very quiet and powerful energy that you bring, like you said, to the room.
Yes, sir.
But right, right, it's really cool. I'm going to ask you some crazy questions now. These are
Okay.
questions that just deserve a 15-second answer, 10-second
Okay.
answer. Right off the top of your head. These are just sort of fun questions. If you were to die and come back as a person or a thing, what do you think that would be?
Ooh, if I were to die and come back as a person or a thing, I'd probably
You
be a
can't come back as
peacock.
yourself. You cannot
I'm
come back
not
as you.
coming back as myself. I'd probably be a peacock.
Okay.
I just love the colors and stuff, George. I just think it'd be fun
Okay.
to be that
Okay.
beautiful all the
Okay.
time.
Okay. Okay. All
I
right.
don't know.
There are many interpretations of that statement, but I see where you're coming from. You love the colors and the
Yeah.
grace of a peacock. Yes. Beautiful neck and yes.
Yes.
All right.
The grace, the
What is
elegance.
that's right. That's right. One of the most elegant and beautiful birds. What is your most treasured possession?
My faith. I was told many, many years ago by a sister that helped bring me into the Nation of Islam. And she looked at me one day and she said, guard your faith like it's a little baby. And I never forgot that.
Your faith. Mm-hmm.
My faith, F-A-I-T-H. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because at first I thought you said your face, right?
No. Faith.
No, I
Faith.
know. What is the quality that you most like in a man, woman, or friends? The quality that you most like in a man, woman, or friends?
I would say strength and honesty. That's two, but I would say strength and honesty.
Okay. What do you value most in your friends?
Strength, honesty, and then I would go with integrity as well, or intelligence, I'm sorry, as well. So
Okay.
again, smart, honest, strong people.
Right. Who are your favorite writers?
So for overall writer, just ever, and this person doesn't necessarily write a lot of books, but he speaks a lot, and that's Minister Farrakhan. I just love his mind and the way it works. He's, I'm speechless in trying to describe just the way he weaves things together and the way he reads people and delivers the message. That's, you know, if I can have that mind, man, it's incredible. So on that standpoint, from fiction, I'm reading this book. I actually have it here because you guys got to check this book out. This is written by a Nigerian. It's called War Girls. This is fiction. So it's science, it's African science fiction.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's my new passion, African science fiction. So that's on the fiction side. And then aside from the minister, I am really into Tom Burrell's new book, Brainwashed.
Yeah, yeah, he wrote that a couple of years.
You read that?
He's
Yeah.
quite brilliant.
Yeah, I love that book.
Speaking of writers, this is a picture, everybody, of
Yay!
Wendy's book. That's a hell of a cover. I like that cover. Where can people get this?
You can get it on Amazon. So it's also in a Kindle version. If you don't want deliveries coming to your house, you can download the Kindle version and check it out. I would say go get it before the new one comes out so you can get the baseline information, because God willing, the new one will be out by the end of summer.
Yeah. Who are your heroes in fiction and in real life? Either one.
Okay, so in fiction, it's Cleopatra Jones. You know, that was a bad sister, right? That's OG.
Wait a minute, you're not that old. Right. Cleopatra Jones?
Yes, Cleopatra Jones. I liked looking at those old 70 films, and I would see her, man, that sister was bad.
She was bad.
So that's a fiction. Yeah. And in real life, like I said, aside from Minister Farrakhan, I would say my mother. She's an incredibly strong woman.
She's still with us?
Yeah, we're having a virtual Zoom party on Mother's Day for her, along with other mothers in our family. But yeah, she's very strong and she's a fighter. And that has been something that I learned from her. It's just, you don't mess with her. Trust me.
Yeah. And then the final crazy question is, what is your favorite curse word? Now, you don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
I can't curse during Ramadan, George.
Did you want to give us the first letter?
No, it's Ramadan, George.
Okay. You have to say it. Okay. All right. Okay. But you do have a favorite curse word, right?
I do have one that slips out occasionally, yes.
Okay. All right. So I was just taking your pulse to make sure that you were human.
Human. Yeah, very human.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, George.
For your gift to our people, for your investment in us, because you're very generous. Thank you for your support of the Power Networking Conference. Someday, the conference will be brought to our people by our people. Someday. It isn't at the moment. But you have certainly been extremely important in allowing us to move towards that dream of the conference being for us, by us. That's
we just got to get a hotel that's big enough for us. That's all.
There you go.
I think me and Dr. Michael Roberts can work on that.
We have a solution to that. We have a solution. We searched for a solution for years. Maybe we'll talk about that. We'll have Bishop Alexander from the Park Church in Charlotte, North Carolina on our podcast. But we have a solution for that. Okay.
Okay.
So that's A. B. We moved the conference to the 14th through the 17th. Hopefully everybody out there knows that we have moved it. It would just be too early to do it, the first week in July.
Yeah.
Hopefully once the virus mitigates and ultimately flatlines, we don't know exactly how long that's going to take, but it's certainly going to take another couple of months. We are still going to need 3 to 4 months to repair psychologically in the whole notion of social distancing and breathing the same air as another human being, right?
Mm.
That's going to take a while. In fact, I think that probably, I was talking about this with a friend last night, probably the new rule that is going to emerge when flying in America or outside of America will be face masks. Will be face masks.
Yeah,
And
I
we
think they've
should
already
have
implemented
face
that.
masks on airplanes anyway with all of that bad recycled air. I cannot even begin to tell you how many colds I've caught on airplanes just breathing recycled air. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the whole notion of wearing a face mask is to some extent being normalized. And certainly when we get in close quarters in travel, it probably will become a requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, I want to do our standard offer, but Brother Bedford, before I do our offer, our special lottery ticket for the Power Networking Conference, do we have any questions? Are any burning questions out there from brothers or sisters that
Yeah,
must be asked?
yeah, we do. We have a couple questions, but we'll just go with the burning question from Linda Clemens, and she wanted Wendy to give her top 3 strategies that she would advise Black women or women of color to get into business and entrepreneurship. What would be your top 3 strategies for women of color to get into business and entrepreneurship?
First strategy I would say is find a problem and solve it, because as Black women, we are master problem solvers. You know that, Brother Bedford. Find a problem and solve it. And remember that you got to study. So study, study, study. I studied for a year before we opened the hospital. So before you jump into that business, before you go to Africa, wherever it is, make sure you study and you know your craft, because as a Black woman, you're going to be challenged on whether or not you know your craft. And then number 3, have faith, because there's things that are going to knock you down, things that aren't going to go right. But once you know what you're doing, once you're focused on solving the problem, you should be okay. You just got to get past the hurdles and the people who try to stop you and who don't believe that you should be doing what it is that you're doing.
That's great, great, great. George, I would like to just ask one more question,
Sure.
because I've had the blessing of being able to tour the hospital that you built from the ground up. It's a magnificent piece of just architecture, and that's really what I want to get, because it's not just a standard hospital. You really you went to great lengths to provide a healing environment with the air, the paintings, the music. I mean, you've incorporated all of these things in the hospital. I just want to know, how did you come up with those concepts, and where does that come from? Thinking like that to put it into a hospital where this is not normal. You don't go in and look at art and figures sticking out of the walls, and where the surgery is, there's a certain type of air that's coming through the vents. How did you come up with that concept?
So, Brother Bedford, you know, one of the things that is one of my gifts is that I'm able to pull from a lot of different areas and put together like one model. So a lot of it came from me listening to my business partner as a surgeon, talking about things that were needed in the hospital, things that he wanted to make it easier for patients to heal and make it more comfortable for doctors to work in. The other piece of it was looking at what people needed. And so it was really designed around making a healing environment for Black people. What do we like? We like music. We want to go to the doctor. It's all right to listen to the OJs and the Isley Brothers while you in the doctor's office. That's okay. That relaxes them, because one of the things that I saw when we were building, we were in another building, was that so many of our people were stressed out. And so just having that piece of music, the artwork, looking at the colors and the different types of art makes you settle down and feel more comfortable. So it started to heal people from just what ailed them. And then a lot of the other pieces came from studying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings and really understanding what he thought people needed to heal, and pulling all that together. You know, we've built a model that we are now looking to scale in other cities and in other areas through even larger hospitals.
That's great. Beautiful.
The Power Networking Conference, Wendy Muhammad will be there. October the 14th through the 17th, we've moved it. Spread the word, please. It'll be a much safer time. Forbes magazine named it one of the top 5 conferences in America not to be missed. There'll be over 1,000 top Black professionals, business owners, and community leaders that attend our conference. We're in our 19th year. And you know, you cannot do and put on a conference for 19 years for Black people, because Black people will put your ass out of a minute unless you are exceptional, unless you give them what they deserve. And we do that at the Power Networking Conference 19 years straight. There is not a prominent Black thinker, speaker, leader that over those 19 years have not spoken at the Power Networking Conference. You need to be there. So we make a special offer at the end of our podcasts. It's good for only 5 people. Tuesday, we had 14 people. We only accepted 5 to fulfill our, goal. So we want to make this offer available to the first 5 people, and it's timestamped because you can only get this offer by emailing me directly. The adult registration at the Power Networking Conference is $1,500. We encourage you to bring a student, 17 to 25, so they could sit at the feet of masters like Wendy Muhammad and learn from them. And our speakers not only come and speak and do their thing. Boyce Watkins will be with us next year, not next year, but this year. And Dr. Julius Garvey will be giving him the International Lifetime Achievement, Marcus Mosiah Garvey Lifetime Achievement Award. Dr. Julius Garvey is the son of Marcus Garvey, not the adopted son, not a foster son, nothing wrong with that. I was a foster child, but the natural born son of Marcus Garvey, and apples don't fall too far from the tree. He's 86 years old. He is bright, and more than bright. He was actually a thoracic surgeon. Right, he's retired now, so he will be there, and I will hear from him, and I will interview him, and we will give him that award. So Marcus Garvey will be with us, along with Wendy and so many others. Go to our website, www.powernetworkingconference.com. That's www.powernetworkingconference.com, and the whole thing is laid out for you. Now, the deal that I'm going to make you for the first 5 people that react, you cannot get this deal on the site. There is a podcast deal, but it's not this deal. A full registration is $1,500. A student registration is $800. You put them together, that's $2,300. We're going to take $1,900 off of that package and give it to you for $399. $399 for one adult and a student. One adult and a student. $1,900 off. First 5 people. How do you do it? You email me at gfraser@frasernet.com. That's gfraser@frasernet.com. That's gfraser, Fraser, @frasernet.com. In the subject line, put in there, I'm in. In the body of the text, not the text, but the email, put your name, first and last, and your cell number. Your cell number. If there's no number, I will just skip by it and then go right to the next person. So that's how you will get it. Your email will be time-stamped, so I know exactly when you reacted to the offer, and I can pick the first 5 people sequentially by their time, okay? So that's the offer for the Power Networking Conference. Hopefully you will do it early enough and will be in the first 5 and take advantage of this incredible conference now in its 19th year. So that's our offer. We're sticking to it. Wendy Muhammad, you're not only brilliant, but you're beautiful and you bad.
Thank you, George. Thank you, George.
Right, that's 3 B's. Isn't that 3 B's? Beautiful, brilliant, and bad. Right, you're all of that in a bag of chips. If you just have a closing thought, please share it with us.
Sure. My quick closing thought is to just challenge my conscious entrepreneurs. Think about what it is that you can do for a fellow entrepreneur or for members of your communities. It's going to be us, the minds of our community, the business minds that are going to save our community and solve some of these problems. So I have a conscious entrepreneur challenge that's out there. Go to my Instagram, that's Mo Today, MOETODAY, or my Facebook page, which is Mind of the Entrepreneur, and post whatever it is that you're doing for fellow entrepreneurs, but make sure you're giving. And remember, when you're in need, give.
That's right. Give until it hurts, and then give until it feels good, right, babe? Right? Give until it hurts and give until it feels good. I just have two closing simple thoughts I want to leave with you tonight. Building your own house is more effective than trying to get someone to treat you better in their house. That's it.
That's right.
You were born looking like your parents. You'll die looking like your choices. My name is Dr. George Fraser. I love you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, George. Love you too.
Thank you.